Yeah, so I've been working off stream on this. I just been enjoying, like, honestly, just chipping away at it. I actually got a lot done just working in my spare time. As it wait, how was that? Oh, because I started at midnight. That's why. So technically, it was the 19th. So that's that's correct. All right, so we starting. Like I said, we did a lot off stream. So I'm actually like almost done with server. Real talk. So yesterday, um, we only did a half hour, but it is what it is. We modified code in server to use sent data storage dict lock to lock associated sent data storage dict for inter-thread operations, since we don't use the transfer list anymore. Like, that's gone. So yeah, removed all code in server associated with transfer lists. We continued reviewing server overall line by line, making minor visual improvements such as modified comments for better language, or removed divs. Um, Divs is what I call those, just little separator things. Um, began reviewing the received cal tupless source system in server, and began reviewing code associated with server by send requests. Sends. Don't see any code implemented for it. So those two things really we need to focus on is reviewing the receive cal tupless sort system and reviewing code associated with resend request sends. And did I add that to things to do? And we stopped at 13, so let's go over there. So these two things, that's what we're gonna want to look at. So let's jump over there. We have refresh understanding of counter system. Okay, that needs to happen. And I'm an idiot. I already forgot. Okay, now is the receive cal tupless, and then resend request. Okay, so the receive cal tupless thing is there. Review that, and then we have the resend request. So let's copy this because I didn't add that, and then let's organize this. Figure out what we're gonna tackle first. So we have because I was just kind of like freestyling it. I wasn't like going in order particularly. I was just going through server. So we'll say determine or review server to see if we implemented sent, or we'll just say resend request sends. Yeah, because I didn't see the code, and it should go like, obviously you need to send out resend requests, and it just makes me wonder, like, did I not add that feature and I thought I added it? Maybe I don't have it in client either. Maybe I only have the code to handle receiving the resend request, but there's no code that sends them in the first place. So that's, obviously that needs to be added, because that is something that is like pretty much necessary, like almost certainly necessary. So review server to see if we implemented resend request sends. So we'll just say review file to try and find code associated with resend request sends. Didn't see any code implemented for it at first glance. And I'm gonna do the same thing here for client. And I forgot to set my timer, so let's go ahead and, well, I actually didn't even check client, so I don't want to front like I did. So let's go ahead and set our timer here. and we'll do. We did 5, so it was 68. So we'll say 63. And all right, so let's figure out what we're gonna do first here. And let me just go to server, because we did lots of work in here. Like we got rid of so many lines. Like the file is only 535 lines now. It's great. It's honestly just like, it's great. It's amazing. It's so much shorter. Like I literally probably got rid of 200 lines in the past 3 days, I would say. So major improve. And as a matter of fact, I want this to be one line, because like I have now learned the benefit. Like I've learned how important it is to reduce the amount of lines that you have in your code. It just it works. Like it really makes everything just better in so many different ways. So I was kind of like, I got away from that, and you know, you obviously need code, right? Like you have to have the code, but you just always can come back and get rid of a lot of it. Makes life a lot easier here. And why do we even have? Why don't we just have this as a comment? Like I don't need to have this if true thing. I don't need that. It can just be a comment. So we'll just say and we'll just say the different types of connection errors are as follows. And you know, just having it on one line, whatever. If you need to read it, you read the line. It's really simple. So I was just kind of going through doing this, getting all these. Let's check our audio here. Just having it on one line, whatever. If you need to read it, you read the line. It's really simple. So I was just kind of going through. Okay. Back to it. Let's see here. And we're gonna want to try to change this to be to use instead of using strings, because checking equality for a string is a little bit of computation, and you can almost always use just like a dictionary or something that's, you know, like a map that maps the integer to a dictionary value, and you just check to see if the integer, you know, matches the integer instead of checking a string against a string. Try to use int instead of string, maybe via a dict or something that maps the string to the int, something like that. All right. So right here we have, I don't think we need these lines, review them. Yeah, and I want to get rid of this first before we do anything in our to-do, because clutter, getting rid of clutter, it just makes life better. Sender ID. Let's go through here and find. Well, wait a second. If the core data, I'm looking at this right here. If core data is the receive change attribute list, we don't have to have a separate one for it. Yeah. That's silly, right? That's silly. So this is gone. Look at that. Boom. You know, I've been just getting rid of divs and everything, honestly. I've just been trying to remove as many lines as humanly possible. I mean, we should probably... Well, we don't know. We'll keep that disabled, I guess. Well, how about this? We'll enable it, and then we can always disable it later. Because we're going to be testing, I kind of want to see everything that's happening for the most part. So this... you could see if we search. Okay, we're going to get to that. Okay, right here. So this sender ID, it doesn't get used after this. So this was for that part that we deleted, I believe. We deleted the associated section. So there's really no reason to have this anymore, right? You get the ID the data was received from. I have to do this before below line since it chops off this ID element. And then we have a tuple assignment, and this was, yeah, we were reassigning it to its original format so that we could remove it from the sent storage dictionary or the received whatever dictionary, and however we did it, whatever we were accessing, we don't need that anymore. We deleted that, so yeah, we can delete this. There goes another 4 lines or whatever it was. Great, dude, I love it. Right. Anything else we can get rid of real quick? If we implement the perfect save system eventually, we will need to convert this to a server attribute. We will need to convert this to a server attribute. Yeah, this is... Nope. All that, if maybe in the future, nah, we don't want it. We don't want it. And honestly, I will probably... Yeah, let me go ahead and enable these. Pretty much all of these, I want to enable them. So if they're commented out, we're gonna Just all of them. Because when we go to test, I'm going to want all of them enabled. Alright, there we go. What does this one say? So this one's acting like it would never get called. Why? Why would it never get called? Cause we never break out of the while loop. So this would. Okay. So okay, this really needs to be inside of the while loop, right? Yeah. Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. See that? Oh, is it that double speak shit? I'm getting rid of all that. Change individual game so that it assigns con equals client one socket, so we don't have to index reference here. So that assigns con equal to client one socket, so we don't have to index reference here. Right here, we can just assign the server con 1 2 equals client. Yeah, because that's actually needs to be done. Because technically, we're not passing the connection. We're passing the connection and the address. So when we have client 1 socket, client 2 socket. Well, hold up. This is... Let's see here. So instead of passing in the socket, we could just pass in the client 1 con. And then we would say con 1 is equal to the client 1 con. I mean, that's fine. Yeah, that's makes more sense. So individual game, so that con is equal to client socket at 0. But what if wouldn't the server need the address as well, just in case? Um, just in case, like, if the server lost the connection on their end and they lost the address, they wouldn't be able to reconnect because they would only have the connection. But they can't reconnect the client. The client has to reconnect. Once the client gets disconnected on their end, the client has to reconnect. It's not like, it's not going to, because the client has to like request a new connection. It's not just going to automatically make the client request a new connection. It doesn't work like that. How did my timer get reset again? You're at, so this is 45 minutes. So let's go up to 45. Alright. So actually, yeah, we don't really need the address. And I'm really against anything, you know, don't give me it if I don't need it. So we only need the con. I'll say don't give me the address as well. So we don't want the whole client socket here, which is passed in here. Instead, we don't need the socket. We just need the client to con. So we'll just say is equal to s.accept at index 0, right? So that should work, because that would consist of tuple con adder, and we only want index 0. So client 2 con would be s.accept at index 0. And then here we have, it would be client 1 con is equal to s.accept at index 0. And then we would pass the client 1 con, client 2 con, like such, and then now we go up here to this individual game, and this is instead gonna take client 1. Let me just search for it real quick. So we have 4. So this is gonna be changed to client 1 con, like that. There's your client 1 con. Boom. And then this is gonna be, make sure the comment's still right. Client 1, and this is going to be the con object returned by s.accept at index 0. Here's client 2 con object returned by s.accept at index 0 in main metric process. Yeah, so now that's fixed. Now this is going to be changed to client 1 con. So there's, and this is what we just did. We're going to change that. The server con 1 is now just equal to client 1 con. And instead of referencing index 0, we don't reference, we don't do any index. We just bam. And the discount double check means it's verified correct, so we don't need to have that extra statement. That is what the discount double check is for. So now this is going to be changed to, we're going to change client 2, and then we're going to change this to client 2 as well. And let's go ahead and fix all that. So this is going to be client 2 con Client to con. Client to con, but it's gonna have no index. There we go. Now we can get rid of this. And what do we have? This can go away now. So we got rid of those lines. More lines gone. Great. And it's cleaner now. Alright. Yeah, everything is cleaned up. Big, mega clean, dude. And this is gonna be to do. And put the date there. And we can put this here. It doesn't have to be. Our to-dos don't have to be above the line. You know? They don't have to be. Okay, cool. And we don't have a, let's add one here. It says end of apply section, apply data. Maybe we just call it apply section. We don't need to have apply data. We already know it's implicit. Start, and we just call it the apply section. We don't need all that extra. We don't have an end for the receive, so let me add that one. And this will help when we're doing logging. It will just really make everything nice and clean, you know? So we know exactly start receive section, start main while loop, yeah. I just want all these extra lines gone, dude. I want them out of here. And I don't like the associated name for this. We should just change it to be called the change attribute list. Yeah, I want to change that to just be And I mean, this technically, I don't know if it belongs here or if it belongs more so in server. I mean, in network. So let's go ahead and change this real quick though. We're gonna change this to just change attribute list. Well, associated actually is good because it lets us know that it's associated with our client. You know? But we don't do that with anything else. And it's kind of implied that we do that in this section. So we don't really need to say that. And I want to see, can I fix any of this code? Like, or can I delete any of this? I'm on a delete spree. I want to see if I can get rid of this. Let's see. Associated change attribute list. Let me just add this in devlog what I did. And we're going to say added and re-enabled all log lines. So when we test robust logging, active logging, and then we did file sweep for quality of life improvements such as deleted comments, removing leftover to-do entries, minor namespace improvements, etc. Alright. And yeah, so we're going to change this to be just change attribute list. How about that? So all these instances here, let's make sure we have no space. And as we go through, I want to see if I can make any modifications to it. So this is the send section. We're acquiring the lock. And where did we assign that lock? 'Cause yeah. Alright, hold up. I'll be back. Okay. We're back. Had to help my roomie. Something wrong with my timer. Keeps resetting. Unless I'm losing my mind and I'm just like imagining that I said it, but pretty sure I did. Alright. So we need to do this. Finish removing. And then this one we need to finish removing. Cuz I don't know if we I don't think we completely finished that. This was when I was doing like freestyle and I was on fire, but like I got a lot done, but I was not being 100% like methodical, so I was skipping around a little bit, and you can get a lot of work done like that, but you don't want to always work like that because it's kind of like sloppy. You just kind of hop from here to there to like whatever you're going with the flow, you know, type thing. It's very efficient, but it's not quite as thorough. And I know we wanted to review the so we added that as to do, so that can be deleted. I don't really eat pizza, but I do like pizza crust. I let my man eat the pizza and I just eat the crust old. Review code which stores sent resend request. So we couldn't find anything that showed that we sent the resend request at all. After some thought, quite certain we can delete this. So this will be review send ID logic, because we made a lot of changes. I usually don't eat right here. Well, I actually do, but not like while I'm on the computer. I don't like crumbs on my keyboard and shit. It grosses me out. Review server pi send ID system. So as far as resend request goes, like we send out a resend request because we're waiting on data that needs to be applied, right? So how do we like how long do we wait before we do another resend request? I don't know. That's a good question. So let's see. Determine how long to wait after initial resend request send to send another resend request. You know, just in case that got lost for whatever reason. So, like, if we still haven't received what we requested, you know, how long do we wait for that? Um, because we have to, it's like it's holding the whole thing up. Like you can't continue the game until we get, the next thing in line. And if we're doing a resend request, that's because we don't have something that we need to be able to continue the game. And since like it's just a data transfer thing, there is no like, there is no set time. I don't know. Maybe it should be 5 seconds. Maybe it should be 20 seconds. Maybe it should be a minute. I would say, I mean, it should be pretty fast, right? It should be like just a couple seconds, I would think at most. Maybe like 10 seconds max. We'll say maybe 10 seconds max wait time. I'll say 5 to 10 actually, because there's no like real problem. Well, we don't want to apply the same data twice, but it wouldn't if it was like if we did somehow send the same data twice, we just would apply it once, and then when we went to go like try to apply it again, it would not match the expected ID or whatever, so it just wouldn't apply it. It would just like it would remain in that pool of data that to be applied and would just never actually get applied. So that's not really a problem. Yeah, I don't think that would really cause like a bug or anything. I mean, if it happened a bunch, we could always have a way to filter out that sort of thing, but we're not gonna worry about that. I think resend requests are already gonna be quite rare, so like on top of that, having to send another resend request, like that's a pretty rare occurrence where they sent data that didn't make it or whatever, then we send them a resend request and somehow they don't send it again, because if they're still connected, like if they become disconnected, that's a different thing. We're not going to be sending them resend requests. It don't work like that. Yeah, so we'll say determine how to say 5 to 10 seconds max wait time. I think that's pretty good. And just in case I don't want to get a copyright, I've been getting copyright by letting us playlist I had set up play, and then it finishes and starts playing some other stuff. And this just needs to say since we changed a lot, need to verify the ints to integers are what each side expects, etc. Yeah. Say in case we are still waiting for the requested data, game can't move on. Maybe 5 to 10 seconds max wait time. Okay, so let's organize this a little bit. So what do we need to do first? Review the send ID system, determine how long to wait after initial resend request, review server to see if we implemented resend requests. So this needs to go above that for sure. And this can go, they'll go in a cluster because that's all related to resend requests. Review client to see if we implemented. Yeah, we'll do both of those. Okay, and that needs to be for both of those so that can go together. Refresh understanding of counter system. So I'll just say review counter system. Alright, so these two are kind of together, right? And then we have what else? This is see if we can sort of receive cow tuplets. Okay, that's going to be something we take care of like ASAP. That's going to be one of the first things we do. And then determine how long to wait after initial resend. Okay, I already did that one. Finish removing code which stores and subsequently removes. Since we started this already, we'll take care of that first. That's something we already started. So this would be clustered together. That's clustered together. Make a set of CS sends change game data to server side. The server. Okay, we already knew about that. Review code and server which stores sent resend requests. Finish removing code which stores and subsequently removes sent resend requests from the sent data storage dictionary. We don't need these to be saved as the purpose of the digs. Yeah, so this is kind of a duplicate. This is like we already started that task. That's why we have this one up here. Alright, then we have try to reduce from 3 lists to 1 for, we're going to do that first. It's going to go up here. So we'll do these two first. Then we'll go to that. Then we're going to add code to handle inter-thread operations. For all 3 states we're doing that does need to be done. Let's see if the recent request sends. I'll say that would happen before this. Okay. Review code insert by related to send ID logic. Determine if it's incremented. Yeah, true. Okay. That's a duplicate. Verify that we store 2x send data storage entries on server side. Okay, true. And this will go last, I think. Modify code inclined to delete the filter storage dict section since being replaced. Has already been deleted. Okay, that we do need to do as well. That can go up toward the top. I would say after this, we'll do that. Send receive verification function, which sends out receive verification. These might be deleted. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Alright, and then let's go ahead and collapse all these. So now we have them mostly organized. Mostly, I say. Alright, that's good. So let's go back over here. Alright. So this change attribute list, let's see, what can we do to in the change attribute list lock, where is that assigned at? Okay, it's assigned way up there. Okay, that's fine. So this is in the apply section. We initially have our changed attribute list. Let's highlight that. Well, we can't. Let's see, we have to do it like this. Highlight that. Now it should show. Okay, so we assign it to the proper one, and that's all that's happened so far. Now we receive the data. Core data is the list. We then assign the received cal2 list. And that's to hold everything from multiple core datas. So it's a compilation of core datas, which is fine. We do need a separate data structure for that. Okay, so that's fine. So we populate the received cal2 list by iterating through the core data. So let's see. Okay, so what exactly do we use this change attribute list for? Because currently we just, in the receive section, we use core data and go directly from there to the received cal2 list. And then we go to then we go to the apply section, and this can be put right here. Get all this clutter out of the way. It's gonna make life a lot better. Okay. That's fine. So now we're iterating through the received cal2 list to see if the data is ready to be applied, if it matches the expect counter. That's good. And then we then check to see if the length of the changed attribute list is greater than 0. Oh, okay, so this is for sending. This is the send section. Right, okay, that makes sense. Okay. So, should this even be assigned up here? At the beginning of the while loop? I mean, I guess... Where actually is that assigned at? Oh, it's assigned way... It's okay, it's assigned outside of the main while loop. That makes sense. And couldn't we assign some of this other stuff up here? See, like we could assign this at the top, right? We could assign the received cal2 list way up here. And we wouldn't even need this assigner dictionary. We would because otherwise this is going to assign it every time. But if the type of the core data is equal to list. Yeah, I was thinking about what about an intended recipient, but we don't do it like that. We would just have this server threaded client reflect the data back to the other client on the client side if it needed it. But we're pretty sure that's not the case. We're pretty sure the data just isn't needed on the client side by the other client. So in this case, yeah, I would say we could probably move the received cal tuplus assignment here to be handled in prior to the while loop, because that saves us from running it every single time, right? If it's up here, right here, this means this is prior to the while loop, so it's not gonna reassign it over and over. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's actually the way to do it, because all it relies on is the client 1 or 2 int. So we're just gonna move this here. We'll say, how about this? I'll copy these 2 lines, remove it, boom, and now we're gonna cut that in half. Now this is gonna go up here, and we're gonna just do it like this. We're gonna have the received cal tuplus is equal to, let's move that down there as well, and we'll do it like boom, like that. And now we'll copy this line, delete that one, and bring it down here. And then this is going to be C2, because if you're client 2, you're always going to use the C2 receive cal tuplus. There we go. So we didn't actually get rid of lines. We still have 2 lines, but it's not going to happen every single time. And you know, it's more organized as well. So is there anything else we could move up there like we just did? Is there anything else? Just like this. And that's cleaner right there. How about that? So the sent data storage dict, well, that does depend on the that depends on the current client and the intended recipient, right? So that one we actually can't assign until we know who the intended recipient is. So that one we couldn't move, unfortunately. Let's see here. So the type of the core data is equal to an int. I was just looking to see if there's anything else we can like optimize here as far as just assignments and stuff. And I don't actually see anything. I think it's pretty much as optimized as it's going to get as far as that goes. So this associated changed attribute list assignment here is just regular change attribute list, and then we use the change attribute list lock. That's fine, sure, okay. So we check the length of it to see if we changed any data that needs to be sent. Because this is the threaded client, it's running parallel with the main thread, which is running the actual the progression through the game file loop, which progresses the game itself. This is really just for data transfer between client and server. Now, so if we changed any data at that point in time, we would want to go ahead and send it. So we're checking to see if it's populated. And I feel like obviously we check this because we wouldn't run it. So some of these comments are just redundant. Associated change attribute with this copy. So we're creating a copy, and then we release the lock. Checks the client 1 or 2 to determine which send ID. And I feel like that is self-explanatory. I don't need that comment. This here is we don't really need this to be divved, but it's fine, whatever. So then we pre-serialize the data, passing in client 1 or 2 int, the send ID, and the associated change attribute list copy. Now why do we send in the copy? Oh, because we want to preserve it at that point in time. Yeah, we don't want to use yeah, that makes sense. We don't want to use the actual well, you know what? Do we really need to use the copy? Or could it just be the actual? I think the reason we didn't want to use the actual there was a reason. I remember because I was saying if data snuck in, like there was this concern about data sneaking into it, and like that would cause a bug. But I'm just okay, well, okay, all right, I see. Because everything, yeah, we have to create a snapshot of it at some point, right? We have to create a copy of it at some point. That does make sense. Because we want to take basically a picture of it. So couldn't we just do that literally right here? When we pre-serialize it? But we would have to have it assigned because we have to access it. Well, yeah, we would, because we have to take a snapshot of it in time, send that snapshot or all the data included in that snapshot, and then we remove all the data from that snapshot that got sent. Otherwise, if something snuck into it because the other thread contests and adds to this object. That's why we use a lock. And if any more data was added to it that wasn't included in the snapshot, we would end up sending that data again, you know? And we don't want to like double send data. So this does need to be done, and I'll just put a note. So, must be done to take snapshot to ensure only data we remove all data that was sent from the list after send. Yeah, true. All right, so we can actually do this. We should do this actually immediately prior to the send. So this should happen right here. We should create the copy as late as possible. And we do need to use the lock again. So we are going to need to use this lock again. So we're going to say with the lock. Or rather, we can just say with the changed attribute list lock. And then do that. There we go. So with the change attribute list lock, we would then create a copy of it, because it was already populated, so we know we need to enter into that section. But then we're taking a snapshot of it, and we want to make sure as much data gets into it, you know, so we give it that extra time from here to here, which is only a few microseconds, whatever, but it's, you know, it's the way it's supposed to be done. So then we have the copy created. We send the copy. Alright. There's pre-serialized data. Like unserialized. This is what it should be called. Unserialized data. And this should be changed to unserialized. Storing the unserialized data, and then this should be called the serialized data, and then we're gonna create message header for the serialized data and send the message head and the serialized data. Okay. Now we iterate through the copy. A copy of the associated change attribute list. And removes all game matters since they are not used and therefore should not be transferred by the other client. They're not used by and should be not transferred to. And then we say for tuple and association attributes copy.copy. Okay, so we have to make another copy because we're removing from the copy to send. Right. So it's a little bit complicated. It's not that complicated though. Removes from both the change attribute this copy and the association attribute this, therefore need an independent copy to avoid iteration issues. True. Okay. And then with change attribute list lock, removes all entries. So with the lock, we then and this doesn't need to be its own line. We can copy this and then do bam. How about that, dude? How you like that, dude? That's the way to go. Hit that boy right there in his damn coin purse. Ah. Hit that there boy in his coin purse. Uh-oh, there's the thunder. Bro, I've been lightning like crazy over here. Alright, so we come like send all. Alright. Create arrays to blah 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 blah. We change it to this. Remove all entries. And we like our. Why we not capitalize it, dude? Removes all entries from the associated list. The actual list. Alright, so yeah, for tube and associated list, copy. Right. Removing. We're creating a copy of the copy. We're using the lock, and that is correct. We do need to use that lock. And removes all from the actual list that were just sent over the network to avoid sending them again. This is used instead of clear to avoid accidentally removing data that got added in between the send and this removal. True. Very good. Very good catch. Calloc list function. What is the what that do? What do that do? It's been a long time since I looked at that. What is this? It takes in a list method data and a reentrant lock and then uses the reentrant lock. So shouldn't we pass Okay. Yeah, I mean technically we do need the lock and then we pass the lock. It seems a little bit silly, but this would be vulnerable if we didn't lock it technically to a race condition. So we do need this. We actually do. We need this. Don't remove. Must lock the function call. Alright, so there we go. Calloc list function. A list is the associated with this method R data tube. Okay. The reentrant lock is equal to the change attribute list lock. Verified correct reference. Removes the elements from the original using the correct lock since it has been sent over the network. That's true. Okay. Yep. So it's removing everything that was sent from the original, and then we say if tube at 1 is game. So if tube 1 is equal to dir string, we say that this is correct. I need to really check that though, because what if it's not anymore? Because we did change some stuff. I don't even know what the toop is here. For toop in the apply list. Okay, so dir string is supposed to be at index 1. We have the timestamp. Okay, so yeah, so that should be correct still. We didn't modify that. And then we do the associated change attribute list copy we remove. Okay, and we're removing that toop. True. Removes all game matters from this list since they are not needed by other client. The verified correct reference moves from the copy. Yeah. That's good. And then we say if the length of the associated change attribute list copy is greater than 0, so if there's still any left in that copy we made, then we would go ahead and send to the other client. Determine which send ID. And this is extra. Didn't I delete that? I'm like, I could have swore I deleted that line, dude. I'm having deja vu here. Alright, pre-serialized data, client 1 or 2, and send ID associated with this copy. This is, what do we call it? Pre-serialized. It's just unserialized. And then this is going to be called unserialized, and then this should be serialized. And then we create a header for the serialized data. Then we have this logger here which says other client send change attribute list associated with this copy is equal to logs the associated prior to sending to other con. Okay, and then with other con lock avoid trace condition when other like that's a, we don't need that comment there. Reassigns other con object prior to send in case the other client disconnected and reconnected where they would have a new con object. Yeah, that's actually true. I added that. This is a new code. This was recently added. And then we do other con send all, and then we're gonna send the serialized data. And the sent data storage dict at the send ID will store the unserialized data. Until the, well, it doesn't send just the change attribute list. It stores more than that. It stores the client int, the send ID, and then that as index. So send data clear is received in case we need to resend. True. And then else, either if length of C1 change attribute list is greater than 0, must have this else to ensure lock is released. Why is this C1? Yeah, that's wrong. It should be just change attribute list. There we go. Must have this else to ensure lock is released. Duh. And yeah, do not remove. Like, duh. That's a no-brainer. Don't need that comment. Okay. Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with this. It's fine. I reviewed that entire section. It looks good. Looks really good, honestly. Perfect. I don't think anything needs to be changed. Very good job. Let's go ahead and change this name, though. Yeah, that one really can be. I mean, I'm sure it could be, but I personally don't see how I could improve it any more. Yeah, I feel it's pretty much as good as I can get it. Okay, that's really good. I think we're going to look at the receive cal tuplist sorting thing now. Let's see, how long have we gone? An hour 30. So yeah, it's actually time for me to take a break. I need to eat. But so we'll just say we reviewed the entire send section. Reviewed server pi entire send section. Made minor modifications, improvements, but overall everything looked great. And yeah, so this is clean, dude, bro. This is, ooh, what are we down to? 515. That's amazing. I want to get down. We could probably get down to like 450. That's the goal. Get down to 450 maybe. After we get rid of all the extra comments, I would say that's probably where we'll be at. So that's really short. That's a really short server file. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna review this received cal tuplist. So let me just put that right here. We'll say we stopped right here. Oops, wrong one. There we go. That's where we're stopping. Stopped here. Let's copy that. And we'll just say next. Next, do immediately below to do task. Alright, copy, and then we go to 2. Bam, down here. And that's going to be line 252. Number 252 and server. True dat. And time we stopped is going to be 4:14. So that's an hour and 35 minutes, which is, we'll just say 1.5. Alright, so let's review it. Game testing, debugging, review, part 22, correct. 8:19:25, that's correct. 2:40 to 4:14, correct. 1.5 hours, also true. Generally, continue debugging, reviewing the game to test it. Specifically, added some and re-enabled all log lines, so when we test, we have a robust and active logging. Did file sweep for quality of life improvements, such as deleted comments, removing leftover to-do entries, minor namespace improvements, etc. Reviewed server pi entire send section, made minor modifications, improvements, but overall everything looked great. And this should be like that because it's a major section. And then we say we stopped at line 252 in server, and then stage commit blah blah blah. True. Alright, so that looks good. Let's copy it. Let's go to our terminal, make sure we're at the root of the project, which we are. We're gonna get branch, we're in the right branch, get add, so stage, get commit -m, double quotes, paste in our devlog. 88 insertions, 105 deletions. So we added probably 10 lines here in a devlog, maybe 5 to 10 more lines of to do. So that's about 20 lines. So we really added 68 lines, and then we deleted 105. So that's a net like 40 roughly lines deleted. So again, every time it's like we're getting rid of 40, 50, 60, 100 lines, which is cool. Alright, so git push, well, and it's also to do adds lines as well, so it's probably more like 50 deleted total. And then we could push to the cloud, so that's another 50 lines gone. Great, love it. So now let's close this out and we can make our local backup here. Programming projects, Canasta. We're gonna copy this. Go back out to backup. That's today's date. We're gonna delete this old one. We're gonna paste in the new one. Text, devlog. Go to the end and make sure that is indeed the most recent devlog entry, just to like make sure I pasted it in there correctly, and we did. So now we got a local backup and a cloud backup, so we're good to go. Really good session for the most part, and yeah, I'll say we'll probably finish this. We'll probably finish these tasks. I would say this is probably, I would say about 15 minutes. This is probably going to be another 15 minutes. this 15, so they're going to 15, 30, 45. Instead of 15, 60. That's another 15 minutes. So an hour and a quarter. That's going to be probably about 30 minutes. So you're looking hour 45. That's going to be 30 minutes, 2 hours 15. We'll just say another hour for this, 3:15. So yeah, up until this point, you're looking at 3:15, and then we only have just a little bit of stuff before we start testing, you know. So we're getting there.